I want you to imagine something. You've just spent 40 hours, an entire work week, meticulously crafting a grant proposal. You've polished every sentence, you've gathered every single attachment, and you hit send at 11:59 p.m., right before the deadline. And then you wait. You wait for a committee of people who have never met you, who've never seen the faces of the people you serve, to decide if your mission is worthy of their support this quarter. You're competing against 500 other nonprofits for one small slice of a shrinking pie. Does that feel like leadership to you? Or does it feel like begging for crumbs? Today, we're talking about why you're exhausted, why the grant trap is killing your momentum, and how to reclaim your power through relationship fundraising. That is our focus on this episode. Let's huddle up. Hey, welcome to another episode of Huddle Up with Mark, the Fund Coach. I'm Mark Duncan. So today we're going to be talking about this grant trap that you may or may not be stuck in right now. But if what I just described is you, I want you to pay really close attention, because at the end of this episode, my hope is that you will make a shift, that you will shift your focus to the most lucrative aspect of fundraising, and that is relationship fundraising. So let's talk about the grant dependency trap that you may be in. A lot of grants that you're probably looking at are restricted for a particular program or a particular purpose. In fact, many grants don't fund operations. And so now you have to decide, well, if we really want the funding, perhaps we can create something that fits what they're looking for. Now, think about that for a moment. If you've done that, say, well, we really need to secure funding, so we're going to do something that's maybe slightly outside of the bounds of your mission. It's not mission aligned. It's not what you set out to do at the beginning of the fiscal year, but you see this as an opportunity too good to pass up. And so you make some changes. You compromise your mission to try to secure that funding. You have to ask yourself, compared to relationship fundraising, what's the payoff? You could spend 40 hours of grant writing, as I described earlier, with a 10% chance or less of securing that funding. Now imagine if you spent that 40 hours building relationships with people who have capacity, where you ultimately may have a 50 or 60% chance of getting funding. If you do it right, I guarantee you that chance is going to be closer to 90%. What sounds better to you? Which would you choose? You see, the grant trap is very easy to get drawn into. Foundations, federal funding, state funding, county funding, any kind of funding where you have to compete in writing for support puts you in a space where you are constantly competing for attention, competing for funding. Where over here, you could be spending time building relationships with people who are already supporting your organization that will likely give big if you build that trust with them. But this fatigue that you're experiencing as it relates to grants is a choice. If you are choosing to fight 500 other nonprofit organizations for a chance to secure funding versus building those relationships, you have to decide whether or not you want to continue playing the game that is designed for you to ultimately lose. And this is not a cut on those foundations out there that are doing good work, right? When the funding does come through for a particular initiative, that's great. But keep in mind, many of these foundations establish themselves because they want to focus on a particular issue, a particular problem. And so you're trying to fit that problem so that you can secure that funding without thinking about all of the stuff that comes with that, the complicated reporting, the uh, competition to sustain that every year. And then the other thing that you risk as well, that you have absolutely no control over, and that is when a funder, right, foundation shifts their focus. So, for example, you might have a foundation that is willing to support education initiatives for grades K through 5. And that's your sweet spot. It's perfect. And then in a couple of years, or maybe even next year or next month, they decide without telling you that they're no longer going to be serving that population. Now they're shifting to an older population. Maybe they're just serving high school, or maybe they're getting out of education altogether. And they're leaning into an entirely different area because they feel called to do so. You have no control over that. But what you do have control over is the trust that you build with individual donors, because that trust and that leadership can convert into large gifts. And it's very rare. Quite frankly, I've never seen it happen in my entire career that a major donor decides that they're no longer going to support a particular initiative. I'm no longer going to support health related organizations. I'm going to do something different. No, this is all based on a trust and relationship that they build with you, and that you've shown them that your organization is worthy of their support because the people that you serve are benefiting. And they see you focusing on that. They see the results because you've built that relationship. You've brought them to your organization, or you've been able to convey to them either through testimonials from the people that you serve, or through them seeing the work that you're doing and hearing about the results that you're getting. They trust you, and if they trust you, if you ask them, they're going to give. And if you ask them to give big, they're going to give big. And they're going to keep doing that. So there's the sustainability aspect of this that is absolutely important. Now, I am not saying, and I might have said this in other episodes about grants, I am not interested in having grants not be a part of your strategy. See, grants themselves, in many cases, are based on hope, and hope is not a strategy. But a full-fledged fundraising strategy should and can include grants, but they shouldn't be the sole driver of your funding. They should be a very, very strategic and small part. See, I believe that if you're going to focus on grants, focus on grants to do the new things that you want to do. Find a grant that is going to align with a program that you want to launch and seek funding for that programming from that grant opportunity to launch and use individual giving to sustain. See, that is how grants really should be used. When you think of it strategically, all grant opportunities should really serve as a form of seed funding. Whether it's seed funding for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, but it gives you an opportunity to create the sustainable funding and replace the funding that you're getting from a grant with funding from individuals. But if you keep going back year after year and you've gotten into a habit of securing those funds, and all of a sudden things change without your knowledge and certainly without your permission because they don't need it, then where are you? I've seen organizations lose six-figure gifts that have made a profound negative impact on their bottom line because they weren't prepared for that shift. They weren't prepared for that to go away. And so it put them in a real bind. You don't want to be there. Grants are a great way to support organizations, but not as a sustainability measure. Think of grants as one-time funding or funding for a very finite period of time so that you can buy the time that you need to prove that the new program that you are launching is working well. And you're showing that to individual donors while the grant money is paying for that. Individual donors can step up and fill in when that funding goes away, and fill in even more so. Because now if you want to grow the funding, now you're seeking additional support to double what you're getting from the grant. After that's gone, you're not only replacing it, but you're doubling it. And if you're able to do that, and that means you're able to serve more people and have a greater impact, why wouldn't you do it? So many organizations rely on grants. So many organizations think that that is the only way to fundraise. If you haven't heard me say this before, year after year, decade after decade, when you look at philanthropy, especially here in the United States, 70% or more of all philanthropy is coming from individuals. Not foundations, not corporations, but actual people. And then when you think about it, where do you think many of the foundations are getting their funding? From individuals. Where do you think corporations make their money? Primarily from individuals, for the most part. See, people drive philanthropy, people drive this economy. So why not focus on building relationships so that those dollars can come directly to your organization in an unrestricted fashion so that you can continue to do your good work? Donors will fund a leader that they trust. Donors will fund a leader who is making an impact. The relationship matters. When you focus on relationships and not on applications, you are going to see a significant difference in your funding in a positive way to support your mission. So I suggest that instead of sitting down at your desk on a Monday morning, opening up your computer or your laptop, and you start searching for grant opportunities, instead of doing that, take a look at your contact list. Take a look at your database. Engage in wealth screening so that you can identify those people who are right under your nose so that you can connect with them. And I bet you're going to see significant success because you could be spending your time writing a proposal, right? Hours and hours. And at the end of the day, what you're asking for, because of the limitation that is in the application, you may only be asking for $15,000. So you're going to spend 30 to 40 hours filling out, completing an application, and submitting it for $15,000 when you could be building relationships, meeting with people, having coffee with people, having lunch with people, giving them a tour if it's applicable of your organization, showing them your mission in action. Imagine if you spent 40 hours doing that. You could get several $15,000 gifts. So I hope that this encourages you. I know many of you are listening to this or watching this, and you could be very upset with me, frustrated, angry. But I'm telling you, the data doesn't lie. So I'm encouraging you, I'm asking you to just take a look at how you're spending your time as it relates to fundraising. Think about the outcomes that you want to have. And I want you to think of three people that you can contact from your database today to set up a time to meet with them. And call them. Don't email them first. Call them. This is about establishing a relationship. And the sooner you can move toward an interpersonal connection through a phone call first, and then a face-to-face meeting, and then building that trust in that relationship, you will see your fundraising grow tenfold. So pick three people, and three people that you already know, and ask them for an opportunity to chat with you, even if it's for 20 minutes. And don't put this in your desk drawer. Act on it today. Your mission, your work, the people you serve are too important. So I hope this has been helpful. Take that step today. Close the application, open your database, and get started. And as always, this fundraising thing, it's not about the dollars. It's about what the dollars do for the people that you serve. Thanks for listening, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.